Coming up.
We actually bought the first bull 31 years ago. They're just performance machines.
Friends of mine, they go, my God, where'd those udders come from?
If Braunvieh didn't work, I wouldn't be using them.
Learn why some producers have used Braunvieh genetics for over 25 years. Next on The American Rancher. Hello and welcome to The American Rancher. I'm Pam Minnick. This episode marks the 10th anniversary of telling the Braunvieh story on this show. Now that's a long time, but there are cattlemen that have been using Braunvieh genetics even longer than that. One producer on today's program has been raising Braunvieh cattle for over 30 years. Today we'll talk with him and two other producers who reveal why Braunvieh is their longtime breed of choice.
I've always been interested in ranching, but my dad was in construction, heavy equipment, and I did that for 30 years, but I always had cattle to come in after 12 hours of work, come in and work with cattle of an afternoon or on the weekends. And I always wanted to feed cattle, see them all the way through.
I was raised on a farrow to finish hog operation, and the cattle were something that were just something to take up the ground that we couldn't farm. Since we was around hogs all the time, the cattle was something that we didn't get to spend much time with. So one year I was kind of in charge of calving them and taking care of them one fall, because he fall calves. That's when I really kind of started enjoying them the most.
I've tried a lot of breeds over the years, most all of them. I started with Braunvieh over 20 years ago. A friend of mine introduced the Braunvieh cattle into this county locally. I was wanting to feed cattle in the feed yards, and he kept talking about them, and I looked at them, and they really sounded like they'd work for me, and I haven't left them. They're excellent quality beef, and they've grown well for me. No matter what genetics line of Braunvieh cattle, which I've went through 20 or 30 different bloodlines over the years, but they're consistent enough. They just keep working. And the feed yard being paid on a grid basis, I have to have cattle that'll work. And if Braunvieh didn't work, I wouldn't be using them.
We were used to cattle that were not the tamest. You know, you was always worried about a foot. You was always worried about climbing a fence. It was not a pleasant situation when we worked cows. Life's pretty short to work with wild animals. That's just not our country here. We can't do that. But I believe our first bull was about 1993, 94, in that range. My dad went to one of the first Braunvieh Golden Link sales, and my dad doesn't get excited about cows at all. That's not his thing. And when he come back and was excited about the Braunvieh cows, then I thought, well, maybe that's something I need to look into. So we went to the next Braunvieh sale and bought our first bull. And then once we had our first set of Braunvieh calves, and especially our first set of heifers, we realized that how easy it was to work with the breed, how docile they were. I'll never forget there was a gentleman in our neighborhood. We just weaned our first set of calves, and we were standing there, and them calves come up to the fence, and he goes, my goodness, he says, how long these calves been weaned? I said, oh, we just sorted the cows off of them here a minute or two ago, maybe a half hour, an hour. And they come up looking at us, and he goes, I'm not used to that. He says, we're used to calves running from us or, bouncing off fences. He goes, you've got something here. And so we've just been building on it ever since that. I've heard on some of the other shows, they call them the old man's breed, and I'm okay with that. We don't like getting run over, we don't like climbing fences. I'd say your half-blood, your lower percentage Braunvieh heifers, them being docile, and longevity and their udders, that's got to be the top things that the breed really has to offer.
We actually bought the first bulls 31 years ago, and after a year or two of seeing what the calves done, what the females done, we just didn't have a reason to change. They just have done everything we wanted them to do, and haven't really found any holes, so we've stuck with them. They've treated us well.
The best way we started to show people what the Braunvieh could do was we just started lending people our bulls that were in off. They didn't have some place to go. So if we had an extra bull or something, we'd loan it to a good friend of ours. Once they have that first set of calf crops, that bull sells easy after that. But on our commercial heifers, it's just word of mouth. Once we finally started having the numbers where we could have like 40 or 50 heifers here for people to pick through and look through, there just I can't remember the last time we've had heifers for sale. We might have 10 or 12 heifers left after our normal buyers, but they're gone within a month or so. It's just, that when we get down to that, it's the guy that's want 2 or 3. We need all these people. We need the guy that buys 20. We need the guy that buys 2 or 3. So, to have a leftover heifer here, and if they do, usually that's something we're like, that's good enough just to stay with us. We'll just keep them for ourselves because, we're not going to put anything out there that we wouldn't keep for our own.
Coming up.
You get a cow that's 12, 14 years old and still standing up there with them 7, 8-year-old cows. That's good.
It's sure not uncommon to get up, 12, 14, 15, 16 years out of them. We've got several cows doing that.
Braunvieh females earn their keep and then some. That story is next on The American Rancher.
The Braunvieh breed excels in soundness, function, fertility, and performance. Adding these quality genetics can be a game changer for your herd's bottom line. Find those premium genetics at the 17th Annual Herd Builder Braunvieh Female Sale on November 2nd in Marshall Junction, Missouri. You'll find 75 lots including pairs, bred cows, bred and open heifers, and show prospects. Visit brinkbraunvieh.com or call 785-766-8713.
J. Bar Braunvieh believes efficiency and fertility are the most important traits in the herd. With their good partner Circle C Ranch, J. Bar Braunvieh is now offering performance-tested bulls in volume supply ready for service. These are range-ready, hard-footed bulls that work for ranchers in big, rough country. Outstanding females are also now available. J. Bar Braunvieh provides cattle that work for you.
Welcome back to The American Rancher. Braunvieh females are well known for longevity in the pasture. Their ability to put more calves on the ground over their lifetime certainly translates into more profit. But the real money comes in the performance of Braunvieh-influenced calves.
I've been feeding Braunvieh cattle in the feed yards for well over 16 years. I don't know exactly. I've had them for 20, so I probably have fed them for 18 years. I started out feeding them in a natural program. Did a great job. They loved them at B3R meats. Then when they sold out, I fed some to Coleman meats, and we wound up shifting to Coleman, shifted to Colorado, I believe. So I started feeding in Kansas at Pokey Feeders up there, and they seem to like the cattle. They just never had a bad word to say about them, and they feed 90,000 head at a time. They wish they could find more of them to feed.
Braunvieh. Well, for the last several years, we've been selling to the steers to Fred Schroeder up in Nebraska, which feeds the cattle the rest of the way out, and he sells on the grid. and we get the premium. He likes the way the cattle grade and yield, and so he's always paid a real good premium for the calves. We've been doing that now for 6-7 years. Just the fact that we're able to get that premium, you know, whether it's female or steers, you know, we've always been able to get that, you know, extra dollars per head, and that's what it's all about right now. You know, it's definitely got a little tighter over the last year or so, and it's, you know, knowing that you've got that premium out there sure makes it and a lot easier. And you know, when you've got people wanting the cattle, it's sure a lot easier to market them that way than it is to, you know, take them to the barn and hope that the buyer's having a good day. We generally have some of these heifers for sale after they're weaned and, you know, backgrounded a while, and that's been a real good market also. Replacement heifers that we keep back, we're breeding them heifers to where they're calving at 22 months of age, and yet they're maturing out at the size that we want for the mature cow. And you know, you start that early and be able to get them extra years on the other end, it just all adds up to more money back. It's kind of a best kept secret with what the cattle can do. There's people out there that know and understand the Braunvieh, and it's just a matter of making connections with these guys, and there's getting to be more and more of them all the time. The Braunvieh cow, it just has so many pluses, I think. Number one, the disposition is just very, very good. Clean uddered, longevity.
You know, you got to have longevity in your cows. Without longevity, it makes it tough out here. It's already tough. You know, you get a cow that's 12, 14 years old and still standing up there with them 7, 8-year-old cows. That's good.
It's sure not uncommon to get up, you know, 12, 14, 15, 16 years out of them. We've got several cows doing that. 14, 15, 16-year-old cows that, you know, still have a nice structured udder, no breakdown on the quarters.
They don't, you know, some of these cows out here are 12, 14 years old, and with udders that are still flat, you know, the teat displacement is still spot on.
We don't have a lot of the issues like with the bad udders and just some of the things that we constantly hear the neighbors talk about, we don't have. They're just performance machines.
I think it means everything as far as cow longevity. I mean, we don't have a great big herd. We run about 100 cows, and most of the time, if there's heifers saved, it's because we need those new genetics. It's not so much that we need to replace the cows, it's that we need the genetics, or maybe we're experimenting with something. You'll see some black white-faced cows or stuff out here. Well, the producers that buy bulls from us and heifers from us, they want to kind of see what they've already got. If somebody tells me they're going to put an Angus bull on them, or if they're going to put a Hereford bull on them, I can go out there and show them. You know, here's kind of what they're looking for or looking at, and what you expect to see from them. The strongest points the breed has is their percentage females. I think that's probably one of the things that it's not out there as much as it should be. Them half-blood heifers, 3/4 blood heifers, they're irreplaceable.
We really do like the F2s. The calves, it just seems like it gives a little more spark to the hybrid vigor. We've seen them crossed with a lot of different breeds, and really haven't seen any that we didn't like. They've just always put that extra muscle, that extra rib and top line on the calf, and then again the female side carries through. So yeah, I don't see any reason why not to do it on a crossbreeding program.
I'm not a purebred breeder. My goal has always been to put a good product on the table, whether it's at a restaurant or at your home, and just me knowing that my cattle wound up on somebody's plate and they loved it, that's all I need.
Up next,
Friends of mine that have been in the cattle business, they go, my gosh, where'd those udders come from? There's nothing else like them.
adaptability and outstanding profit traits are putting high-grading Braunvieh carcasses on the rail. You're watching The American Rancher.
Our goal at the Diamond H Ranch is to produce bulls that increase your profitability. Our program is built with cows that milk well and put bone and muscle on the calves they raise. Diamond H herd sires are marked by their ability to produce good females as well as high performance bulls. These are cattle that excel in the pasture, in the feedlot, and on the rail. Genetics that'll help you profit in the beef business. Visit blackbraunvieh.com and let the Diamond H brand go to work for you.
Four Kings Ranch, your source for full-blood and purebred genetics in Oklahoma. Don't miss us at the 2019 Herd Builder Sale on November 2nd. We have traditional colored and blacks available year-round. Remember Four Kings Ranch, it's in the genes. But Braunvieh Hybrid, vigor, heat tolerance, maternal instinct, and high fertility to work in your pasture. 20 purebred Braunvieh bulls and 20 percentage Braunvieh heifers. Sell at the Thanksgiving Turnout Sale November 25th in Sulphur Springs, Texas.
Welcome back to The American Rancher. For decades, Braunvieh has been the breed of choice for cattle producers nationwide. That level of history with the Braunvieh breed is impressive, considering that those producers have plenty of experience with other breeds as well. But because of outstanding adaptability, longevity, productivity, and other traits, keeping Braunvieh genetics in their herd is an easy choice for these ranchers.
I like these cattle because they'll adapt to any climate, it seems like. They're in Mexico, they're in Canada. I think they'd grow and do well in Alaska. I've had them in a feed yard in western Kansas in one of the worst winters on record. And I believe that pen went through with 0 hospital days. Completely. 0 death loss, snowstorms, terrible, and they just kept on eating. Years ago, we had Bramer cattle. We thought that, and it worked good for us 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and then about 15 years ago when I went to the feedlots, then I started trying to get more hair on them because we were doing a fall breeding program, and the Braunvieh puts hair on them. Even the Bramer cattle, I fed Bramer cross with Braunviehs in cold climate, and it's worked.
They originated out of the Swiss Alps. We've heard about them as far south as you can think. They take the heat well. I've got neighbors right now complaining about pink eye and foot rot, and like this year, knock on wood, we have not had to doctor a single animal. Between the pigment, the darkness on the hoof, and the darkness around the eyes, they just don't seem to have the issues that some of the others do.
There's cattle, Braunvieh cows, in the mountains. They really thrive up there, I don't know that much about those areas, but I know that the guys that have them say they can go up in the mountains and they can survive. They go out in the deserts and work. They work on fescue. They work out, where the grass is good. It's easy to live where the grass is good. Try where it's tough. People desire these heifers, and it seems like once you get somebody with a set of them in their hands and they calve that first set of heifers, they're easy to sell to next time. They understand what it's about. They understand that the longevity, the udders are amazing. So friends of mine that have been in the cattle business and not been in it for a while, when they come around, they go, my gosh, where'd those udders come from? Once they've calved them and have that udder on them, there's nothing else like them out there. People, some of their comments are, our first calf heifers have better udders than some of our cows. And to me, that's kind of hard to believe, but yeah, when you go out there and see some of their cows, see the udders on them, you understand that.
They milk, and if you're got a cow that don't milk, you're gonna raise a sorry calf. So they always raise a calf as good or better than they are theirself. I've always, when I started feeding cattle, I've always did it as a retained ownership and owned my cattle. That keeps the risk on me, and that's how I trusted these cattle to do the job. And we actually sell carcasses instead of cattle. We get a base price for the cattle, and then the carcass is priced off of a grid, ribeye area, marbling, yield grade, quality grade. It's all pluses, or if you don't have the right cattle, it can be minuses. But I've always been in the plus category.
With a lifetime of experience raising cattle, these and other producers across the country are sold on the exceptional value of Braunvieh genetics. James, Dwayne, and Eric have done so for decades, and with a track record like that, it's a safe bet that Braunvieh cattle can work for you.
When I talk to other breeders about the Braunvieh breed and why they're superior, I ask them why did they give us the Hereford breed, the Angus breed, Simmental breed, Charolais, and what was the last breed that was imported from Europe? Is the Braunvieh, because they kept the best for last.
That's all the time we have today. To learn more about the value of Braunvieh genetics, log on to braunvieh.org. And to find out more about us, visit theamericanrancher.com or connect with us on Facebook. I'm Pam Minnick. For the entire American Rancher team, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Superior.